This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 840 for the week of Monday, October 28th, 2024. My name is Zach. Oh, wait.
And my name is Steven?
Steven? What? I thought you were our very special guest. I thought you would never be able to get promoted.
I'm
to
actually
anything.
Not a guest on this episode. Sir, no, not appearing on this episode. Yeah.
And me neither. So we're here to ground you into the reality that we're not going to be on this episode. We have Sam, Joey Weiser, and Vero on to talk about One Piece fan letters, as promised. I'm very excited to listen to that. Steven, I don't think we got a big chance to talk about it. No. So maybe we'll talk about it at the end so that if anyone's repetitive, it's us. I feel like that's more fair to them. I don't want to tread on the same stuff. And as we said before we were recording, I think each of us remember a good third of it. So together, at most, 2/3 you got with us. So, yeah. But Steven, I guess quick thoughts. How many stars out of, let's say, 17?
Out of 17?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. I'll give it a 16 out of 17.
Wow. I'll give it a 15.5 out of 17.
Okay.
Because I have to be
you hated
different.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, you know what? That's how the internet works. If you're a little below the average. We have some really cool little things that happened this week. Not a lot, but you want to talk about baseball first, Steven? I feel like it's the One Piece podcast. We should talk about baseball.
Yeah, well, this is an anime episode, clearly, and this was supposed to be the Summer of George. No, it was supposed to be the the first week of the Fishman Island. What is the they called it something like the
blog, Fishman Island log, something like that.
Yeah, One Piece log, Fishman Island.
Yeah.
And it was preempted because if you didn't know, there's this guy named Shohei Ohtani. And he is playing in the World Series right now as we speak, and this is national news. Like they're literally, as we're recording this. Yeah, as we are recording this, they are having their election day in Japan, and nobody cares about that because they just want to know what did Shohei Ohtani do in the World Series. So
to be fair, they're not playing as we record right now. They played yesterday.
Not right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
They will be playing the evening that this comes out. I hope. And so yeah, they basically were like, okay, well, One Piece is in prime time or whatever slot they were going to.
It is not in prime time. It probably was live. Right now it's like in the morning on Sundays.
Okay,
yeah, so that would be Saturday night for us. So that makes sense. It was this week, right? So that was last night as we're recording. I was at a wedding this weekend. The groom is a Yankees fanatic. I am not.
Mm-hmm.
So
was he just watching it on his phone?
Yeah, I was thinking like, how is he? By the way, they lost. Spoiler alert.
Yes.
That game. But I was just thinking like, oh my God, he must be really struggling to get through this wedding of his that he's part of. Like he does a podcast on the stuff. I don't know what it's called.
Oh boy.
Sports podcasters. But speaking of sports, the Mets really could have stopped this all from happening. So if you want to blame anyone, wait a second. I don't like where this is going, this sentence. But yeah, so it's the Fishman Island like Redux where they're, we talked about this a few weeks ago when it was announced. They're compressing, I think 58 episodes into 21
or something.
Yeah. In the 20s. So less than half. And I think the chapter number was like 30 something or 40. Oh no, it was 50. I think it was the same because it was one chapter per episode. Is what they did.
Right. They couldn't.
So it's probably 58. Faster. Yeah. No. And they've upscaled it to look a little more like the modern day anime.
Right.
And I am
they
excited.
They added some filters, and I think they did maybe some reanimation, maybe for certain scenes or something. I don't quote me on that one, but I believe that was part of the process as well. So yeah, that was supposed to be this weekend, but because of the baseball, they didn't. However, that did not mean that One Piece didn't appear in some form on Japanese television, because as we found out, if you had your ears open, there's a certain part. I don't know what part of the game this was. I just saw a short little clip, but it looked like it was. I think it was like the batter hit a foul ball and it broke his bat, and so they take a little extra time for him to go get another bat to continue his at bat. And while that was happening, if you're ever at a baseball game, anytime something isn't happening, they're always like playing some music or doing something to distract the crowd
on organs.
Yes, on organs or just the sound system or whatever. And so they just randomly decided to throw in like a 5 or 10 second clip of "We Are" just over the stadium PA while they were chasing down the foul ball and stuff. So it's very funny, and it was like dead silent, like the announcers weren't talking over it. So I'm sure you would have heard it in Japan too, which was very funny that
I wonder, are they doing their own like color commentary and stuff in Japan? That
I think they do. Yeah, I don't know what they do in terms of feed, like if they get the video feed from Fox or whatever, and then they add their own audio, or if they actually have. I mean,
they have press boxes. They may have their own people there. When Otani's maybe at Dodger Stadium, they just have like an Otani crew.
If there's any exception, it's for Otani for sure. So there you go. So there was One Piece after all.
Was that Otani's walkout music? I saw that written in our Discord, I think, or somewhere. But that might not be
I don't think
the case.
So. Yeah.
It might just be that the organist is a fan. In which case, thank you so much for representing the community, and please continue to do very obscure. I'm going to throw it out there. Do more obscure One Piece themes that people might not know, but if they know, they know. Trying to think of an example, but I think you hear a lot of them in fan letters, which would have been a really good segue if I didn't have more to talk about. The Volume 110 cover, of course, just as predicted, between the recording and the release, of course, the full version came out. Yes. Because that's just tradition now. And in the future, when another volume that happens, it's going to happen like that again. Did you have any differing thoughts on the Volume 110 cover now that it's less purple?
No, I think they the gang covered it pretty well. I think my comment once the final one was out was I don't think it's going to be one of the more memorable or remembered ones.
Correct.
But it was nice that we got the elders on a cover. I like that, even if I hate them. I think it's cool that they are memorialized on a volume cover.
I'm thinking of it now. It's been talked about that. I think it's Jupiter, the one on the left. Jupiter. I don't know if you have it. I'm gonna just say Jupiter.
I don't.
The one who looks younger than the others, who was blonde in the anime.
Specific than that.
The one with the goatee. The one who's always standing.
Yes, the one with the nice haircut. Yeah,
correct. So I think it was originally blonde, and he changed it to white hair. And
that's true.
I'm thinking as I'm sitting here that Oda is so bad with adding melatonin to his characters, the Seraphim in particular, that maybe they're all Seraphim secret, or maybe they're all Lunarians secretly. Maybe that's because they do. I mean, this is Oda and his ability to draw darker skin, which seems not to be there for the most part. So that's going to be my wackadoo theory of the week. Sorry, that is a Bluey term. I don't know why that came up in my brain. But the thing that annoyed me, Steven, I don't know if this came to mind, is just that the giants look tiny because they're behind Luffy and Bonnie. So they just look like regular-sized folks.
Yeah, they do. That's funny.
I think my favorite part of this is Saturn, though. He looks great, I think. His colors are ridiculous, even to me. Who again,
I didn't know his nose was going to be so red. He's got,
why not? Why wouldn't you? I have to look up Gyuki, right? That's what it was.
Gyuki, yeah.
I have to look up there are colored versions, and I know. You know what? It's never going to look as good as the one that Steve drew for our show, which is still one of my favorite images, the ukiyo-e style.
Yeah, very good one.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't stop thinking of Wheel of Fortune too. I think Ken mentioned that, and I can't unsee that. Which one is bankrupt? They all are. You go bankrupt if you hit any of them. So the last piece of news is related to this, and we were deciding whether to do an SBS for the SBS review for next week. Well, we'll get to the SGS
volume
after,
review.
but
Yeah.
the volume review, yeah. Yeah, what are your thoughts, Stephen? We'll discuss this live.
Oh, for whether, yeah. So basically what we're faced with right now is we have the volume is coming out, and it is the first week of November. So it's like the 7th, I think, or something like that. I forget what day it is specifically, but it's like within a couple days of when we would record, and it does take some time. So we are holding open the opportunity. I believe me and Zach both have pre-ordered it. So hopefully, I mean, if Amazon Japan is anything like, Right Stuff, RIP, they'll send it out as soon as they have it. So, and I have the, fastest shipping, blah, blah, blah. But we will see, if I have it in time to do a manga recap. That would certainly break a record for the fastest we've ever done a volume recap for a volume. But it would work out perfectly if it does, because we're not going to have
another break for a little while after that too. Who the hell knows these days? It's possible we get one like 2 weeks later. I'm hoping for that. If that's the case, next week's episode is going to be really juicy. It's going to be an SGS and an SBS. And for those that don't know the SGS, Stephen, because they're living under a rock and really missing the greatest podcasting ever made. For me specifically, what is the SGS?
The SGS is the Stephen and Greg and Simba segment, where me and Greg, our good friend, our correspondent from Japan, who writes a column on the official One Piece website and does many other things, live action series advisor among them. We basically do our own version of the SBS, where first we'll usually talk about whatever's happening in the manga, and then we get some questions, and most specifically from the Patreon segment of our Discord. So if you are a subscriber on Patreon, you will have the ability to guarantee that we will read your questions. We should be recording that next week, and that's always a good time. Me and Greg, we go way back. We have a lot of experience between us, and so we're able to shed light on some stuff that you just wouldn't be able to find out otherwise. So it's a good time.
And whether or not this is a good or bad way for you, the listener, it is definitely the NPR of One Piece podcasts. And yes. I mean that in the best possible way. So it is informative. You get unique coverage and perspectives from two people who, as Stephen mentioned, is the translator of One Piece and Weekly Shonen Jump and Manga Plus. I don't know if I forgot to mention that, since this intro is different. Yeah. And Greg, as we said, series advisor on the One Piece live action and a million other things.
And if you didn't catch Zach's hint, it's also very soothing on the ears.
It is soothing on the ears. Stephen and Greg have wonderful voices. I could say for sure. And only 20 minutes of it usually is cat time. Well, Simba's name is in it, so you know what you're getting here. So Simba, again, being Stephen's cat. So check that out. This is, I think, the 19th episode of that show coming up next week. So fun stuff. And lots of podcast stuff that's going to be happening in addition to that. Please subscribe to us at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. And this month, November, we got Anthony Bowling on the week after the 4th, so that's 11/11. And he's the former ADR director for One Piece from Crunchyroll now. We have Crystal returning on the show. who is
Cool.
all influencer, I guess is the word. I don't know.
Yes.
And that's on November 18th. And on the 25th, a good friend of the show, Kirsten Carey, is coming back on, writer for our website, Mary Sue, and many, many others that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But check out her articles too. And the only other announcement as far as guests is I think we have Dr. Gomez coming back in December. I think fresh from their Japan trip, so I'm excited to hear about that. Yeah. And yeah, that's basically the One Piece podcast news. So I want to hear about fan letters. That's enough of the two of us. So do I. So let's get straight into it right after this.
This is the anime recap for One Piece Fan Letter, the new, I guess, episode or short film by Megumi Ishitani and Masami Mori, aka Soti, I believe is how they say it. The animator's handle. So instead of our usual episode, we basically reached our season finale for the first half of Egghead. And we're going to be going into, One Piece Log, aka One Piece Kai, in the following weeks. But for the moment, we are starting with this special little project that I guess is what Ishitani has been working on since the making the last few openings and the last episode 10-15 that she directed. And you can just sort of feel immediately that this is just a creative passion project of sorts. Mm-hmm. Joining me today is our wonderful friends Vero.
Hi.
And comic artist extraordinaire Joey Weiser.
Hello, hello.
I like that Joey's the comic artist extraordinaire and I'm just your pal Vero. I mean, it's appropriate. He is a comic artist extraordinaire, but also
both descriptive.
Our pal.
Yes, and I am super excited that you guys are here to talk about this episode. Watching this episode, taking notes of this episode was a really special experience. And I just feel like the monumentous quality of this project is just not lost on anybody here.
Yeah, I feel like
sure.
everybody that I know has seen it recognizes this is one of the best things that's come out of One Piece existing,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've seen it 3 times already.
Same.
and I'm not
4 or 5.
This is my first anime recap episode, so
is it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean,
must have been on something else.
I mean, maybe back in the old days.
Or maybe for like one of the movies we talked about.
Oh, yeah. I think I talked about Gold. So that was a while ago.
I think my hot take about this, I think I said it on the main show earlier, but this could have been a movie. I mean, it would have been like
I think it is a movie. I think it is. I think it's a short film.
Yes, fair. Can we get a theatrical release? Is my question. Can we see it on the big screen?
A slightly extended runtime would be nice. There's a few areas where I think it could be expanded or slowed down a bit, which we can get into that in a bit. I don't want to jump.
You mean like immediately as we start this opening?
Let's roll into it.
This opening summary of the Paramount War. So we get the classic narrator and Gold Roger opening, titled, the wealth, fame, power, yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
Get all that overlaying the rapid fire images of the Marineford arc happening in rapid speed, and it's all crazy fast, crazy beautiful. It does to me, one of like Ishitani's trademarks is her like the way that scenes just sort of connect fluidly between each other, and, and it's just sort of like we're like kind of like rotating and rolling between
I feel like
set pieces.
Her animation makes me feel like I'm doing somersaults.
Oh man.
Like in a good way. Like I'm actively in the motion with it, but like it's almost dizzying. And I love that. I also thought that I love how dizzying it is, especially like you blink for 2 seconds. I feel like I didn't actually even read the subtitles for the opening.
Yeah, the subtitles complicate the experience.
I was
you miss so much.
Yes. And in that, I was like, oh, I feel like a civilian stuck in the Paramount War right now, because you've got all these like superhuman people moving at the speed of light, doing disgusting things with their body, like stretching like rubber and cutting themselves up like Buggy. And you're just like, Jesus God, I have a rifle.
Yeah,
like,
and
what
I think
am I
this
supposed
part,
to do?
I don't like mind the dizzyingly fast pace, because it's stuff that theoretically we already know and we've already seen before. You know, we've never seen it like this, but like it's the kind of thing where when it's flashing before your eyes, you get like quick flashes of recognition, and then later, if you wanted to go back, you could look at it frame by frame and be like, oh my gosh, there's Tashigi, there's Smoker, there's whoever. But like it's not like giving you information that you necessarily need to understand the episode, you know?
Yes.
So
Do
yeah,
you guys
it's
have
very
any favorite
effective.
like shots or cuts of animation that just in this
Tashigi.
opening?
Yeah,
Tashigi?
my girl Tashigi being
I know.
front and center was
yeah.
very nice.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes. No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, my roommates and I, one of who has not even finished Dressrosa or whatever, who knows if they ever will. We were sitting and talking, and I was like, I feel like Ishitani is the kind of fan that I could sit and have a beer with and be like, yeah, so Tashigi's best girl, and we love Buggy, right? And our crocodile and Mihawk. So, you know, like I feel like she has
basically
the same.
I feel like I'd just be like crushed under the weight of her hockey.
Yes. Well, that's why I did a beer with her, you know, to even us out or something, you know. But
like second one, frame one, starting with Kizaru, already like grabbed my heart. So I was pretty.
I loved Marco like going from bird form, landing, like running around Jozu.
yeah.
And I think the most interesting shot to me was the Admiral's one, where it's like this push in with a like fisheye lens, and the lens kind of distorts the edges as it pushes in.
Yes.
But then like the strange choice of like in like 2 frames, we're watching Aokiji like slowly lift himself up as he's like joining the fight that we don't even like see otherwise in this
right
in this
opening.
For a second,
I was like, is he drifting off to sleep?
Yeah, right.
Lurching forward.
I'm just clicking around on the video right now, seeing just so many different frames. Like, wow, I didn't even process that was happening.
Yeah, and then there's also then it also connects us to like a montage of the relevant characters that we'll be following for the rest of the show, and like what they're up to at the events of the Paramount War.
Does anybody get a name?
I don't believe anybody is named. Some of them have like nicknames. I've ended up giving some of them nicknames in my notes.
I saw some people calling the main girl Mina or whatever, because it's like an anagram of Nami, and I was like, okay, that's kind of, or they call her Mini Nami, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of cute, whatever. We got Nami girl, Brook girl, Big Bro, and Little Bro, and that's all I know.
Yeah. Anime News Network credits her as girl, so
yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of nice. It's like you can get invested in their stories, but they're not like, you know, they'll never be, you know, trivia points. You'll never like be able to be asked about like, you know, Mina or whatever.
Not naming them also lets you slip into feeling like you are that character, which is great. Yeah. The shot of our main girl seeing Nami's wanted poster and her eyes getting so big, it's so cute. Like,
yeah, she's in line to deliver packages for her house, her family, I guess. And she doesn't. We see her as like a dressed and looking exactly like Nami for like the rest of the show, but like she hasn't kinned Nami yet.
No, she's not having her Kenny moment.
But
imagine her feeling when she cut off all her hair to look like Nami, and now Nami has long hair like her.
Yeah, but it's a cute image of her getting like crushed in the line in the crowd as there's just all this chaos going around, and the thing that draws her eye is the set of wanted posters on the wall, and she's drawn to Nami specifically, and that's kind of fun because like in this world, Nami is not like the one people are talking about of the Straw Hats, like other than maybe to like remark about how sexy she is or whatever.
Yeah.
But like we got this girl who's just immediately latching onto her, like, oh, this is an example of what I want to be in life, and just connecting instantly.
Yeah, and there's probably not actually a whole lot of information out there about her, but you see that she instantly, or that she over time at least, gathers this information that she doesn't have a devil fruit power and things like that. And I mean, that reminds me of how fans are able to read so much into a little bit of information that they get from anime and manga series.
Yeah, it's just like drawing tangerines and stuff on the letter.
Yeah.
So she has this moment. It's the sound kind of goes out, and what's the last shot here? It's like basically her standing in front of the wall with the title One Piece letter. The crowd has like disappeared for the moment to like make it feel like a special moment. If like the spotlight has like literally come down. And then it hard cuts to her in a room. It's framed through her window, which kind of looks like a door. She's got all the Straw Hats Wand posters. She's got all this information about Sabo Odi. She's writing her letter. We're jumping ahead 2 years now to the eventual day that the Straw Hats would be reuniting. So and the narrator tells us, like, basically preps us to understand that this is a story about the people who do not aspire to be pirates and are not looking for the One Piece, but are living in this world and are going to be inspired to follow their dreams nonetheless. So the girl's letter, she's like, "Oh, dear Nami, you're a special pirate. The world is dominated by barbarians who rely on devil fruits and brute strength. You can outsmart them with your wits and resourcefulness. Nami, you're my hope. I hope you continue to have wonderful adventures."
This is my mantra every night before I go to bed. This is my prayer, basically.
Yeah, as it repeats through the episode, like it like cut deeper and deeper with me. Then we got like a middle-aged lady who I guess I assume is like her mom or her aunt who's like looking after her or something. Voiced by Mayumi Tanaka.
Yeah,
in her
very clearly
Oba-san voice.
Yeah.
She's like interrupts her, and while the girl's like she's like doing like the money pinch in the mirror, and like taking her glass. There's a great POV shot of her taking her glasses off. It's blurry. She's her eyes like blinking. She's trying to adjust.
It's such a cute detail that she's like, "No, I'm not gonna wear my glasses." Nami doesn't wear glasses. I thought that was...
Yes. You thought that was what?
Oh, I just thought it was super cute.
Yes.
Fun little character building moment. Like in the way that kids will do stupid things to parrot the things that they love, or things that the adults do.
I think that's a very like under observed theme in One Piece, which is the idea of like modeling yourself after someone you look up to.
Oh, true. Yeah. And it kind of like returning to it and watching it again, like it made me kind of keep in mind that she's kind of barely able to see through most of this episode. Yeah.
Hence her clumsiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the old lady is getting on her case about that. Like, "Oh, you're gonna screw up the package delivery if you can't see." But the girl's like, "I don't care. I'm gonna go on the adventure of a lifetime." And then the woman's just like, "Hey, you can't leave me alone. I need support from the young people that I take care of."
Too bad,
did you hear
Grandma,
that the brothers down the street?
Yeah.
Did you hear about? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's this like recurring theme of like, like the cliche of like a parent pestering their kids and like and saying like, oh, here's what so and so is up to in their life and all the things that they've accomplished. You should be more like them. And like that's like kind of one of the ingredients in this episode as well.
It's funny to me, in a world where people can turn into birds and elephants can turn into swords or vice versa or whatever, you still gotta go deliver packages. Somebody's gotta be the mailman.
That's true.
Yeah, if you're one of the normal people. Yeah, so she's mentioning the brothers from the greengrocer's family. Like they give their parents money, they're successful. They were even in the Paramount War.
Ooh.
And the girl is not hearing it. She's dipping under the lady's leg as she's like trying to block her exit from the door.
She said, "I don't care about that. A cab, Grandma."
And then we get this great hard cut where it goes from like the still quiet house of just like kind of the mom's voice echoing slightly to the sound of the battlefield, and there's still no music. Like there's still kind of like this silent emptiness, but there's cannonballs going off in the background, soldiers getting tossed around and clashing. And we're watching the brothers in question.
I think
they're fighting
the older one
War.
being stuck on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic having kind of the older one be the like
the clumsy one who's
the one
under
who's
his
not
brother's shadow.
Yeah, exactly. Not able to raise in rank and all that stuff. Yeah, that's interesting.
And so the blonde brother, he's got long locks, very, very like bouncy hair. He's the younger brother, and he gets thrown against like one of Aokichi's ice walls, and he's like trying to get back into the action, but he notices that behind him his brother, who's got like shorter, darker hair, is stuck hanging on the top of the ice wall because his gunsling got hooked on like one of the spikes. And the blonde brother shoots him down and then teases him. There's this great like patting him on the shoulder, and then that turns into like kind of a fist bump to the shoulder. Sort of condescending to him, but sort of encouraging him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, that's why you're moving up the ladder slower than me, because you're always so clumsy. And then there's a guy who I call the plum-haired Marine, who's getting tossed around. He's sliding on the ice. He almost falls. He's looking scared for his life, and when he's looking up, what he sees is Dracula Mihawk.
Yeah. and a great
I love that shot. I love the looking up at him.
Yeah, it's like interesting because it's intimidating. Like in this moment, he's afraid for his life, but this is also his like
ally
fanboy moment. This is going to be his. This is his away. This is his kin moment.
Yes.
This is his version of seeing Nami's poster on the wall.
Yeah, and you're really getting like an idea of the contrast of like how their perspective on the stuff that we normally see at like face level. They're all seeing it from below and having to deal with the debris and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a J cut back into the present where we're kind of like overhearing the bar conversation, and then it cuts, and then we see the present day conversation, and the guy who was a Marine in that scene is now just kind of looks like a bum. He kind of looks like somebody who's probably hasn't been a Marine for a while.
Yeah.
And is kind of lazing around. And his claim to fame is that he saw Dracula Mihawk, and he's bragging to the other guys.
Saw him and lived to tell the tale.
It's like, yes, he's definitely, they're in the middle of some conversation where they're arguing about who's the strongest swordsman.
I've never heard anyone say that before.
A familiar argument.
Yeah.
I was amazed at how how precise that they were with this particular conversation. They really wanted people to say, "Hey, that's me. We have that conversation. We talk like that to each other."
Yeah. That's me on Twitter.
Yeah. Do they know?
They have to, you know?
It's usually the kind of thing that they like play dumb about or play coy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, the plum hair man is like, oh, it's Mihawk, he's the strongest. And then on the other guy on the table is like, no, it's Vista, which is a novel suggestion.
A pick.
Another guy's saying, no, it's got to be Roronoa Zoro. But they're like, oh, he's dead, right? Because it's been 2 years since they all disappeared. And like we got this great connecting of shots of plum hair guy is at the table saying like, oh no, he's dead, don't you think? And then like leaning back on his chair, and then like he's leaning to like tap the shoulder of a stranger, and we like cut to that side, and we can see that it's Zoro in like a robe.
Yes.
The glinting of the
scene.
3 earrings hanging down. Yeah, really cool.
It's like, oh, what'd you think, huh, dude? Don't you that dude's a bum, don't you think? Don't you agree?
Sorry. I feel like if you let a fan write this scene, Zoro would like stand up and prove himself or something, or say something cool and then walk off. But no, Zoro's like, it's not stupid that I put my sword in my mouth. Cool. And then he leaves. And I like that. I like that he's flustered. It's cute in the same way that like he gets flustered when him and Sanji bicker. And I don't mean that in a fangirl way. I mean like that they're bad at bickering with each other. I think it's cute, like kids annoying each other.
Speaking of kids, we got 2 kids in what I believe is a bookstore, trying to enjoy their time in the bookstore reading magazines for free. But they're getting like scared off by the bookstore owner who they call Afro, because I guess her hair is curly.
Yeah, kind of frizzy.
And so the magazine that they're reading is a like a shipwright monthly tabloid thing with a very blurry picture of Frankie doing his Frankie pose in Water 7, tastefully cropped.
Yeah. I wonder if shipwright monthly includes the galley law members often.
Well, yeah, speaking of,
it's interesting just generally how like they didn't have like super fans of every single Straw Hat, but the ones that don't have fan characters still get a little bit of attention, like in this sequence with the magazine.
Yeah, like is the idea that the magazine is Frankie's fanboy?
That's how I took it. Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah.
And like it's we're meant to understand that like what the little sequence is the contents of the magazine, but it's kind of shot like a TV expose documentary kind of thing. And it's first they try interviewing the classic Yagura shop owner, who's like, I don't know anything about Frankie, ask the people at the shipyard. And they go to the shipyard, and it's Polly who's in the middle of running away from all the bachelorettes.
And the debt collectors.
The debt collectors. And like the camera's following him while he's running. Like, oh, ask Iceberg about that sort of thing. And so they have to go to Iceberg, and Alice, his new assistant, post-time skip assistant, the little girl, is just like, you need an appointment. And then it cuts like, oh, we hit a dead end.
Damn,
that was so funny.
Not getting one of those.
I love thinking like they could have made an appointment, but chose not to. I mean, like, there's 2 ways you can interpret that. Like, they're being told no appointment because Iceberg doesn't want to talk to anybody, or they could have made an appointment, and that's just an impossible task. Nobody does that.
Is this Alice's anime debut?
I think so. I feel like she must have been like in a montage somewhere, or I don't remember though.
Or like in Stampede or something. On. Yeah.
She would have had to have been in Stampede, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
Well,
who isn't in Stampede? But they reached their dead end, but they managed to procure a stunning photo of Frankie. and they're like, "What the?" Because it's the shot of him leaving with the Sunny and the crew, and the sun is like barely blotting out his dick and balls. It's a different
Tasteful.
picture than the one on the covers. Like, I don't know if the implication is the one on the cover is also from that same moment. But like it's like the camera's from like facing a completely different direction.
Maybe they had a few cameramen around.
Yeah. And the what the is interrupted perfectly in time with the shop owner closing the magazine, like, oh, that's so stupid. Who would buy this crap? And she and I love this. This is like an Ishitani-ism of like characters in the foreground like moving out of the way so that we can reveal something in the background. The shop owner closes the book, gets up, walks away, and then in the background is Robin off to the side reading the same magazine, agreeing. She closes the magazine like, yeah, what idiots.
She's the Frankie fan.
She's I don't know why she's acting like that, like she hasn't been up close and personal there before.
Right. I mean, sure, she was quite involved in that scene.
True.
So elsewhere, Nami Girl is traveling throughout the archipelago. She spends a little bit of time on the bubble bike, on like a little bubble bike, and she's narrating more of her letter to Nami. Like we're sort of piece by piece getting the full message that it's in this letter that she wants to mail to Nami or give to Nami. So she's like, oh, I caught your captain's message. I know what 3D2I means, and I guess she interpreted it somehow as something to do with the when sea cucumbers
the
raise
life cycle,
around.
yeah, the mating cycle or something.
Yeah, and
I had this plan since the beginning.
And somehow her logic brought her to the same exact day. So, so she correctly identifies the day of the Straw Hats' return. Little does she know. And her prance through the alleyway is interrupted because she runs into a line for the Soul King concert, and the concert goers are waiting in line, and they're cracking jokes. They're making jokes about calcium and skull jokes and what have you.
Yeah.
And then some CP, some Cypher Pull agents are suddenly like running through the scene in a hurry. Like she hits the crowd, turns around to like find a new path, and then like as she turns around, these government agents are just like zipping through with a bag with a little fox thing in it, with fake chopper in it, running right at the camera, butthole first.
Yeah, it took me a while to remember who these guys running with a dog was exactly, but yeah, that's the fake chopper, right, from the Demalo Blacks team. Yeah.
And so yeah, she's kind of like forced into the Soul King line just in time for Perona's ghost to come through, and then like everybody kind of tumbles out of the line, falls to their knees, apologizes for buying so much merch. And then we just like have a shot of Perona window shopping for nail polish, wondering if Zoro got to where he was supposed to be. Back in the bar, we got the drunk Mihawk fan putting like spoons in his mouth and doing an onigiri impression. The big tough bartender lady in the background you can see is reading the Frankie magazine as well.
A lot of Shipwright fans.
A lot of Shipwright fans. There's also the Soul King magazine that's some people are reading. Like the bookstore lady, you could see her like at the beginning of the episode. She was reading that.
Yeah, I love the amount of focus that Brooke gets in this because he's often a character that kind of hangs in the back, but it's just such a perfect setup for him to have fans because that's what his whole thing at Fishman Island was.
I don't know if you even see him much in this episode. You just see the fans.
Right.
Yeah.
Like even later when his song is coming in, it's like mostly like other people singing it.
I thought it was very cute that we're getting Soul King fans, not Brooke fans, and thus we do not see Brooke. We see the idea of Soul King.
And while the guy is doing the onigiri jokes, he's also making moss head jokes, and then that is what prompts Zoro to, like, in one frame, knocks them out and then walks away, like, "Oh, you stupid idiots, you don't get it."
Mm-hmm.
I think
Nobody
I'm cool.
calls me moss head.
Real fun, like jump cut to them being bonked on the head and flattened on the table. Very fun.
At a Marine base on Sabodi, there is I don't know what rank this guy is supposed to have. Like I've been calling him like a Marine captain. He's given the nickname Benevolent King of Waves. But he's in charge of giving the blonde brother, who we're seeing again in the present day story for the first time. He's given blonde brother Marine a mission to deliver a special key card for the future of Sabodi security. And I love the shot of him holding the envelope up in like the light, and we see the outline of the card. It's got like these unique perforations, like key squares. Almost like
really cool.
simple QR code or something.
Or like old timey computing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is because Blonde Marine is such a ladder climber, he's such a go-getter. He's been given special responsibilities. And I love this joke where he's like, "What if I drop it though?" And then like the older Marine just gives him like the super dead-eyed, like not funny, don't joke about that.
Yeah.
And like that's like, I don't know if because like I feel like that's such a an American thing, like a way you would annoy your buddy is like, "Oh, what would happen if I broke this?" Or you know.
Yeah. I think it's just a kind of like perfect, very quick way to set up their dynamics and their different personalities and everything.
Like, even though he is the jokester, he is also the one that's like climbing the ladder and being super successful. Usually see the opposite.
Well, yeah. So it's like kind of the jokey, careless guy who's being given a lot of responsibilities, trying to joke against the super serious guy. And then once they're apart from each other, super serious guy turns into a very silly guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Gat Moe.
Gat Moe.
Yeah. Chop Moe.
And the other Marines are praising the captain guy for he was also in the Paramount War. He stopped like one of the boats from crushing Marines and stuff, and that was in the earlier montage. But yeah, back in the office, the big Marine guy is just like with one little finger sliding his little desk drawer open and sees all the little Chopper photos. Like, I was gonna call it Chopper merch, but it's just like a collection of like photos that he got around places.
A Chopper collection.
And he immediately goes hard eyes. He immediately like clutches his hand.
Squeeze.
And, his lips get all pursed up like, "Chopper." And like, it really seems like he's in love with Chopper. Like, it's a little
change.
It's a little intense.
He's like, "I'm a big scary Marine and you're so cute." Like, I love it. You're a pirate.
He's legit like, "But we can never be together."
Yeah. I thought it was
and
so
he even
funny.
remarks on like how it surprises even him when he sees a picture of him, how much he changes, funny.
And he gets surprised by a sudden snail call from somebody above his rank, asking him about the whereabouts of the key that he just handed off. And he's like, clearly feeling the weight of the delegation of these like super, consequence heavy weapons and jobs that the Marines have.
And they're dangerous. Like, they could potentially like basically pollute the waters there.
They mentioned that later, that it, given the order, would potentially destroy the ecosystem. I love when people say that One Piece isn't political and has no tie to the real world, because an ongoing conversation about how mass use of weapons of destruction of any kind are just like actively accelerating climate change and all that. And I'm like, okay, I appreciate you put that in there. It also just adds to the sliminess of the Marines where they're like, I don't care what happens to the civilians and the rest of the world. Like,
yeah,
we just got to get those pirates. Doesn't matter anything else.
And you see that separation between like the Marines who are there because they do want, they have some justice that they're trying to provide the world or some defense or for the weak. But then they're part of this system where they're at the behest of people who do not have those interests. Chopper, meanwhile, the real Chopper is at the bookstore with where the Frankie magazine is and where Robin was. You got this cute like camera panning up and down, like Chopper's like starry-eyed at the magazine, pan up to the woman like being curious about him, pan down to Chopper reading the magazine. And then he just like puts it back and it's immediately out the door. So he leaves without buying, and the bookstore owner makes a comment about that, like, "Oh, of course you're not buying either." So then our Nami girl, the young girl who wants to be Nami, she's continuing her journey, and she runs into the blonde brother, the Marine with the envelope and the card, and she drops the letter at his feet, which he mistakes for his envelope, the one that he's supposed to be protective over. He's like, "Oh, oops!" And I love this little stride, this little like silly little kick that he does as he like throws his weight from one side of his body to the other and picks it up and gets back on his way. Just a cute little strut.
Yeah, I thought it was really good character acting.
And the girl is like, no, that's my letter. She's about to go after him, but then her hand gets stepped on, and she looks up, and there's like this super like douchey looking Marine, this like top heavy. What would you call his haircut? Like,
I was calling him. The house was calling him the Aryan youth. That was the
wow.
That's the vibe.
He's the douchey Marine in my notes. He steps on her hand, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. You shouldn't have been there under my foot." And then like because her other stuff's scattered as well when she bumped into the first guy, and he walks and he just like without any care at all about other people's stuff, he steps on her map of Sabodi and leaves like a dirty footprint on it. And like obviously the map is not as like high stakes as the letter itself, but it still felt like real bad.
Yeah.
She made it. It was her.
Yeah, she made it. It was like a part of the package, of all of her Nami stuff. And this guy just like ruined it. And not ruined it. She can still use it, but it's still like his footprint is there
his
now.
Footprint is on it. Yeah.
There's always a reminder that he did that now.
There was disrespect was had.
And then our friend Usopp steps in and offers some help. And then like this is another like detail that's like common throughout the episode where characters' faces are often kind of tastefully obscured. Like either the lighting is sort of shading it, or they have like a hat brim on that's like creating the shadow that sort of like simplifies their faces. And like I guess she's not an Usopp fan, so she doesn't immediately recognize him.
Well, his wanted poster
because he was known as
King.
Soge King. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So he's the only one that like she could like safely meet. And not recognize. I thought that was very smartly done.
Yeah, great choice. And yeah, Usopp steps in and offers help because he's a good dude. And he's like, "Oh, you were looking for a Marine with an envelope? I saw that guy. He went that way." And he points her at a scary alleyway with like pirates and thugs. And she looks like she does not want to go through there. But Usopp is like, "Hey, let me teach you a magical phrase that'll get you through anything."
I thought that was so cute. It totally. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, say it.
Go for it.
It just reminds me of him playing with the kids back in Syrup Village, like the older kid who's like, I got you. I know how to be an adult. We'll do this. It's so cute.
I was wondering if that was like a line. So his line is like he's telling her to say, "I'm waiting for someone, so just water for now." Basically, like because she's going to be going into the bar. I was wondering if like is that something he says in the manga? Like
I don't think so.
I went looking for it. I don't
a
think it
joke
is
about like freeloading, essentially like I'll just have water and I'll be on my laptop all day at the cafe type thing.
I think I think he's trying to instruct her on how to play it cool is the idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it reminded me of when he and Nami meet for the first time after 2 years. So it's like this is a thing that's on his mind. He's like trying to come up with like cool self intros and how to act cool now that he's reinventing himself a little.
Mm-hmm.
So hard cut to her repeating exactly that line. She's like putting her hands up, kind of like the Nami poster, like she's trying to like flirt with the bartender almost, but it's like so like kind of goofy and innocent. And the bartender's like, shut up, I don't care, go away.
Yeah.
This is the same bar where everyone's arguing about swordsmen, and some drunk is like, oh, what about Whitebeard? He's technically the strongest, right? And then they're like, he doesn't use a sword, you idiot, he's got a naginata. and then
technicalities.
Then our blonde Marine guy comes in. He's not been privy to the conversation until now. He just thinks everyone's talking about strongest something or other. So he's like, I know who the strongest is. Akainu. And everyone's like, that's not a swordsman.
Get out of
That's
here.
And now like Sanji's here, basically where Zoro was. He shows up like over their shoulder, looking real ominous, like, how come no one talks about Blackleg? Who's also not a swordsman.
Right.
And they're like, oh, Lamau, his bounty's lower than Zoro's.
Yeah, this is when the like power scaling argument really solidified for me. That I was
It was so good.
Okay.
It was so good. It's just exactly how people talk.
Yes. They're like, get Sanji, get that guy out of here.
Or just like even it's funny because like even on like Twitter or whatever, people will be arguing about swordsmen, and somebody will find a way to make it about Sanji, and then they'll have to turn it into this, and then and the Nami girl is hiding under the table to kind of escape the commotion. And this is when the dark-haired older brother also arrives, and now the blonde-haired brother is teasing him as usual. Like, hey, I got this super important job. I got this important envelope in front of me. He's like, meanwhile, he's waving the girl's letter.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, so hey, dude, who do you think is the strongest? Who do you like? And then the dark-haired brother's like, I don't talk about pirates like that. I don't support pirates. And the Marines all have to like quickly be like, no, it's not about that. No, don't. We're not saying pirates are cool. We're just saying if they were cool, who's the coolest, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And the blonde brother is teasing his older brother for liking Luffy. He's the Luffy fanboy of the story.
And you know what? He's right.
It was he's teasing his older brother for not being able to climb the ladder because he's such a wet blanket. And even like the girl under the table is both annoyed at the blonde brother, but also like wondering like why does the older brother put up with this? Like that can't be a fun brother to have. And then that cuts to the older brother like standing there looking serious, internal monologue. I don't like my brother.
I know.
And then we get this like super incredibly like pathos heavy like quick montage of his youth being told of like different people telling him how clumsy he is, like as a kid, as a teenager, as a Marine, as a now, like that, like this is something that kind of like gets under his skin. And
yeah, I really want to like take a closer look at those scenes at some point because there's so much information being conveyed about like different places in like locations and places in his life. It's very cool.
Yeah, and like just like the different like there's big like lighting contrast between the different time periods. Like it's just like, and he's cute as a kid. He's like a handsome adult. He's like a cute, awkward, weird, mean looking child. He's just a very appealing character in general. And we cut back to a flashback of Marineford, of his younger brother being like, "Hey, stop being so clumsy. Be smarter." And then we repeat like, "I don't like my brother." but then like it's like things are getting kind of like sullen, so things are sad, like you're kind of left contemplating like what is his feeling about his brother exactly. And we cut to a different moment in time in the war. The older brother at one point has his like leg crushed under a big chunk of ice, or under Ors Jr.'s leg specifically.
Yeah.
And it's like the if you don't know the story of One Piece, it's just like a falling ship. But if you know One Piece, that's the ship that like Luffy and all the prisoners are falling from. So it's kind of like poignant that Luffy's ship is the one that like lands and then breaks the ice and dislodges him. And like that's a thing that he doesn't even get to appreciate or really understand, I'm sure. He's free, but he's like limping. His leg is really bloody, and he turns and he sees some other Marines.
I haven't.
Yeah.
I don't really keep up with the anime that often, but the blood in that felt so much more visceral than we usually get out of One Piece too, which I thought really added to the weight.
Yeah, especially with how bouncy and kind of like round and cartoonish a lot of the art style is in the episode. Like it makes it juggles the two tones like extremely well.
Yeah, and we're about to get to this, but especially the like blood on his brother's teeth, like I thought was very like gory in a way that I wasn't used to seeing.
Yeah, and he hears his brother's voice, like his younger brother is also like trapped in ice somewhere and bloodied up, and he's like, like Oni-san, big bro, where are you? I need you. Like he's having kind of an infantile moment where he's the one who needs his brother's help. And like pacifista lasers are galore. I don't think we actually see the pacifistas here. I think we're just seeing their lasers and the damage. Brother is like limping. There's a moment where he's like gonna turn away. He's gonna like abandon his brother, and then Luffy's voice, you're my brother, because he's off trying to save his brother. Like in running the opposite direction basically. And there's this great flashback of the younger brother, the blonde one. They're in the barracks like shortly before the war started, and brother's like giving them all these pointers, like, oh, if you could do this or this, use the general issue slings, use this because the other ones are bad, and like that coincides with, I guess, like metaphorically, it's like the emotion of hearing Luffy running for his brother gives him a burst of emotion, and then that like with like the momentum of wherever he is in the moment sends that sling flying, sends his gun breaking off of his uniform and like flying, and that's how we transitioned into the flashback in the barracks.
Yeah, and this is like a very interesting part, and it's very like moving, but I start to get a little fuzzy on the details of exactly what happens next with his brother. Like we're kind of left to assume that he rescues his brother at some point, or his brother breaks free, but I think that's the part I don't understand.
I assume he would have to have gone and saved his brother.
Yeah, I took it as he feels empowered.
He feels guilt about, or he feels empowered, but he also feels I think he feels guilty. Like I think like he hears Luffy trying to save his brother, and he's like, oh, am I? Probably has some, like he has his moments where he's like, I don't like my brother, but also there's part of him that's like, well, I still want to be a good brother.
And I think this is the one like section that I think suffers a little bit from the shortened runtime. I feel like this could have been expanded in a way that had a bit more impact and was a bit more coherent. It like, I don't need to have everything spelled out for me, but I think this part kind of just doesn't entirely work for me.
Sure.
Personally.
Because I think this is like one of the slower parts of the episode. And I was like immediately connecting with like the brother's story. I immediately, like while I'm watching it, I started texting my brother like, you have to watch One Piece fan letter.
I like
Does your brother watch One Piece?
He does, but he usually waits for like the dub to come out, and I was like, no, you have to watch this one. And like, yeah, like just like those conflicting emotions of being the being the clumsy older brother, that feeling of like, well, I want to be a good brother, but also I kind of feel lost in my own life, and it's easy to feel almost jealous of other people's successes and them following their dreams and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was all super relatable. Like I understand, like that really connected hard. And then like while he's having these thoughts and he's kind of like narrating his feelings about like, okay, well, what would my life have been had this not have happened, had this not have happened, had this not have happened, and like that's overcutting like the war violence starts to like ramp up a lot in this montage.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, and then like we got this. I think this is movie 10 music. This is Strong World music, like the super sad, the pretty, and the like kind of swelling strings. What did you want to say, Vero?
This is the part that started hitting me emotionally. Because I feel like I was supposed to make a joke like, oh yeah, what if I hadn't done this? What if I hadn't done that? Those are like average 11 p.m. thoughts on a Tuesday night, but I have found myself thinking that very specifically lately about One Piece in particular, because I have very often thought like this show specifically, this manga has like changed the trajectory of my life on such a whole that is like absolutely insane. And I have very recently been like, where would I be if I didn't have this manga leading me to many people, your guys selves included. And I was getting a little teary. I was like, damn, the One Piece really is the friends we made along the way.
I think I had a similar experience, but from like a slightly different angle. Like I've been feeling like this week especially, it's been like very aimless and very like, okay, am I just gonna like spend my life drifting around and like kind of not finding much joy or motivation? And this is like this special like reminded me of like how intensely One Piece used to keep me away from those negative feelings. And like it's sort of like just a bit shot right in the heart of getting some of those feelings back. And yeah, so
it's a great fan letter.
Yeah. So the violence gets crazy. Like there's a shot of the blonde brother like later in getting into like a fight with some pirate, and like the way he's just like jabbing the hilt of his sword like against the guy's skull is super violent and gritty. And there's there's an incredible sequence where it's like the brothers are getting like slammed against each other's backs, like they're right in the middle of Mihawk and Crocodile's fight, and like the camera's like tilted, watching them like emerge out of the dust, focused on each other, like not like we were when we were watching the Marineford arc. We weren't thinking about the regular soldiers at all. It's just the big guys fighting. And then like there's a big explosive attack that sends them like flying, and then that kind of like pushes us in one direction of the screen so that like Ace and Luffy can emerge from the other, and like they're now reunited and they're fighting together. And this is like kind of a eureka moment for the brother Marine character.
Yeah, this whole sequence like really reinforces like that it actually was a war, more than just kind of a fight between our key players, and that the Marines aren't just like, it's not like a Muso game where there's just guys flying everywhere and that they're just like, background. This really like made it feel the most like a war that it's ever felt like to me, which is really effective. Yeah.
Catching back up to my notes. So in the present, and there's been this, I don't think I mentioned earlier, but there's this motif of puzzle pieces. Like when the girl saw the Nami poster for the first time, that was like envisioned with like a single puzzle piece falling into her hand or something like that. And like this one, like this is the Marines puzzle piece, like right, like the characters that they are fans of are pieces that they like kind of plug into their hearts and sort of helps them kind of find a purpose in life.
Mm-hmm.
And
they're one piece.
Yeah, and yep. And the older brother he's thinking to himself about Luffy and how Luffy lost a brother, and he's thinking like, well, I wonder how Luffy's doing these days. And so a call comes in alerting for the Marines saying like, oh, the Straw Hats have arrived in Sabaody. They're, everyone, all hands on deck. And the Nami girl under the table just like her eyes light up, her hair like kind of like lifts, like the gravity kind of like lifts on her hair a little bit. Like she's like, I'm gonna meet Nami. And then like hard cut to her, like somehow she got stuck on the top of like a lamppost in the middle of like all this chaos as the Marines are fighting the fake Straw Hats. She's like, this sucks. This is not what I wanted. This is not what I meant. And she's like taking her binoculars out and like looking at the fake Nami, like, oh, is that supposed to be Nami? Your outfit's all wrong. If I were you, I would have done. Then like the lamppost tips over.
I think this is a real fine moment for her voice actor. I think she does like disgruntled very well. Yeah, that was excellent.
And like match cutting to the lamppost falling is the bookstore lady falling to her knees in exasperation because she I don't know if she's like just realizing she doesn't have sulking tickets or she heard that sulking announced that it was his final tour and that's why she's sad she didn't have tickets. And she's on her knees. There's a big wide shot of the bookstore which she's like very far in the distance of, and like the kids from earlier take this as an opportunity to just like run amok and be like, yes, free reading for everybody, and they're just like running through the halls. But then they stop, and their excitement kind of like quells because they like notice that she's crying and like, oh,
yeah.
Well, now I feel kind of bad for her.
I thought it was so sweet.
Oh.
Nami girl running through the streets. Pacifistas emerge from the smoke, and this is like Luffy versus the pacifista, which looks beautiful. And the big guy Marine, the Chopper fan Marine, is receiving a call like, hey, from his higher ups, like, hey, like you still have that weapon right now is the perfect time to use it. And this is when the Chopper fan is trying to plea like, no, that's like bad for the environment. It's not meant to be used lightly like that. And the guy on the phone is just like, I don't care. So this guy has a job to do something that his ethics do not align with. And so the kids elsewhere, the kids from the bookstore are coming up to they run up to the girl at her desk, and you can see for the first part of the episode, you don't like it doesn't look like her counter is like all sulking stuff, but now suddenly it is. And like this is like I guess a reveal that she is like a super big sulking fan.
Yeah.
And the kids are running up to her like, hey man, miss, we have a way for you to see Soul King. We know where he's gonna be. He's with the Straw Hats. So some pirates are cornering the Nami girl. And we get a good again with the foreground background, like big scary Marine. He gets knocked out. Older brother Marine has saved her for a moment. And he's like, hey, aren't you my neighbor? Don't you work at the wholesale shop? And the Nami girl's like, hey, want to make a deal? Like I heard over the phone that it's going to take you 30 minutes to get to the Straw Hat ship from here, but I know a way to get there in 10 if you just let me know. And she's like holding up her map to show that she's got the goods. And then it just immediately cuts to him chasing her because he's like, I need to get there, but also I'm not going to take you with me. And she's like running away because he's like, no, that's my map. And then some like giant strong world bugs show up. Like what were the bugs from again?
I think they came with Usopp.
Usopp, yeah.
From his island, from Hercules' island.
Yeah, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
Yes, so some big bugs are chasing them, monsters the likes of which these people have never seen on this island. And they get scared and they run into the bookstore. So everything connects. It all connects.
Mm-hmm.
And they lock themselves up and they're stuck in there, and so they kind of have this moment to learn about each other a little bit as they're kind of getting mad at each other. And the guy's like, the girl's saying like, I need to meet Nami. She's my hero. And the guy's like, but she's a pirate. And the girl says like, I don't care. She's different. She changed my life. And like, the older brother getting his like kind of fan service moment, taking his head off, slicking his hair back, wiping the brow of sweat off. And he connects with what she says when he hears that Nami changed this little girl's life, because he relates to that feeling. He kind of like just pauses for a moment and looks surprised or contemplative.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like marching through the bookstore, just like arms up, like feet womping around, just like trying to like put this energy that she has somewhere. And she's like, a powerless girl like me can never live freely. Nami is precious to me because she makes me think that I can have adventures too. That's why I want to support her. And that was the moment, like last night when I was filling out the notes, like writing that out for some reason, like really broke me. Like I was fucking crying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the stuff that really like gets me for sure. Yeah, this and some of the stuff later towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
And so she eventually just like kind of plops down and is laying on her back, and the bugs are still kind of like trying to get in and trying to get at them. And there's a good shot of like you hear like the window crack, and then you see kind of the shadow of the window crack on the ground where she's laying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like kind of our
she
sign,
feels like
like,
her
we don't have
dreams are
long
about
to
to be
stay in here.
destroyed.
Yeah, great
Feels
visual.
like her dreams are about to be, yeah. And the brother Marine was like, okay, well, I won't let you see her in person, but I'll give you a chance to see her from a distance. He's compromising. And she's like, but we're stuck in here. And then but the brother knows a shortcut too. And I love this animation of like him like taking his hand up, pointing down, camera pans down to where the key is, and like the store owner has left this Skull King key in the back door.
Such effective like character acting through animation. So great.
And then the Soul King song comes up. The song about the hero singing about Luffy. It's Brooke singing about Luffy. But again, like we don't hear it from Brooke. We hear like a drunk Soul King fan.
I thought that was
like
so
cry
cute.
singing. This is a song about a hero.
Mm-hmm.
And like it just like lifts up the energy of this climax. It's like this moment of like, oh, we have a chance. We can go make our dreams come true. We can go see our idols. We can do so and so. And like they're running together. He's got like her. He's carrying her on his back, and like they're like Tarzan sliding through the mangrove trees. They see the big bird, the big Chopper's bird friend who's carrying the Straw Hats back to the Sunny. They see him in the distance, so like that's the thing that they can follow. And it's just a great feel good moment. The great song playing in the background. The girl's like, kind of giving the brother some props, like, hey, you've changed. Was it the war that softened you up? And guy's like, I guess you could say that. And like he's like ready to like be kind of vulnerable and share his life story. He kind of seems proud of himself. And then like before he really gets to say anything, like the hollow ghost comes like sliding through him, and then this great shot of the ghost hitting the guy while he's not really being listened to at all by the girl at this point, because she's like, oh, time to duck. And then she like leans back and like narrowly dodges the ghost that's like going through the guy's chest. So the guy then slides on his hands and knees. He like slides from the left of the screen or the right of the screen to the left, and he's like doing his depressed shtick, like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so worthless. And then the girl just like hops off, like, thanks for the ride, and she's off.
Yeah, great comedic beat. I love the slide.
Love the
Very
slide. I love
funny.
the. It's like I love that this is all happening like in this very active moment when everything like feels great and you're primed to laugh, and you got your hopes up that the characters are gonna fulfill their goals. Um,
Yeah, and another moment that the Nami girl's personality really shines,
mhm.
She's determined.
and but before she can get far, she is grabbed by the douchey Marine. Like the song cuts out, fun times are over. The
And that
big
shot
guy's
of
big hand
him,
grabs her.
so
Yeah,
imposing.
his face is overcast because like the sun is at his back, and he's like we're like looking up at him, and again he's like very top heavy and very bulky and just very
Mhm.
deadpan and serious. Like he doesn't care about you, and he wants you to feel how little he cares about you.
Mhm.
Um, and uh, there's action going around. There's cannons shooting at the Sunny elsewhere, and the girl's getting scared about Nami getting hurt. And then the douchey Marine throws her to the ground, and then the puzzle that we've been like kind of putting together metaphorically throughout the video like shatters and the pieces go flying as this guy like crushes her dreams. And she's in her monologue, and then there's this great shot of like when like the sound cuts out, it's very quiet. The puzzle pieces scatter. We see like her hand, like it's a kind of a symbolic image of her hand that then fades into the present day, and we're seeing it like when we're actually seeing it in the reality. The camera is kind of like sideways to the hand, and just in time for like the hand to like hit the ground and plop, and then that's like the thing that brings sound back into the scene. Um, yeah, so she's having her down in the dumps moment. She's like, oh, I guess this is it. I couldn't even hand her a single letter.
Mhm.
But she has an epiphany moment because the blonde brother's now rushing into the scene. He's like running down to the ship on the shore, which is I guess the weapon ship that's going to poison the water and erode the Sunny and the coating. And she sees him and she sees his bag and she's like, oh, this is my time to get that letter back. And then this is like comes together with a big montage of like all the different characters' stories and all the different people are putting their own puzzle pieces together. Um, just like that. This like when I was prepping for recording tonight, like this is the one that got me this time, which is the montage of
Mhm.
everyone putting their puzzles back together. Like everyone's got their piece, everyone's providing their piece, and they're all coming together. And then like as she has this realization, that's like exactly when the bookstore lady and the kids like they jump the Marine, the douchey Marine, and that basically gives her opening to start running again. And so now things are the excitement's back up.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's a thing that not to be kind of a downer, but that's another part that I was like, why are they attacking the Marine? Like, I don't
yeah, I
understand
don't
why
know
the
actually.
characters would attack the
Well,
Marine,
I
but
guess yeah, they're going to see Brooke. Like
yeah,
they
they're she's screaming something about how she wants to go see the Soul King. So
I
my
had taken it
idea is
as
that
like
they're
a happenstance, accidental crashing into them kind of thing.
yeah.
But then like
In the
once
heat
the
of the
Marine's down,
moment.
like they keep beating on him.
Uh,
I
mhm.
mean, I like it. I like that they're attacking him, but it's just one of those things that after
But
if I think about it too hard, I'm like, wait, what's going on here?
yeah, like I mean, like I can imagine certainly that like they were going to go see Brooke, and they saw a guy bullying a girl, and they're like, well, while we have all this excitement and adrenaline, we might as well put an end to that.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
but yeah, I just like I love the idea that like it's all of the different side characters' desire to see their hero that's kind of like brought them to the same point.
hmm for sure. Yeah.
And then that gels super well with the puzzle metaphor. And so the girl's like, all right, this is it. Fuck it, we're doing it. And she makes a run for it, and she's put her glasses on. She's like, you don't see her do it, but like in between shots, she like put her glasses on because she's like, I have to make a run for it. I have to see what I'm doing. Um, and she's suddenly like super agile, super precise, super like able to like dodge people and run past and navigate the Marine ship and stuff.
Locked in.
Yeah, and it's so good. It's so cool. I like that. This is one of those instances where like I think you could have made a big moment of her putting her glasses on, but I don't think it's really necessary, and it hits all the same once you realize that she's wearing her glasses and kind
Yeah,
of what
like
that means for
I
her
didn't
character.
know that she had done that until like several watches through.
Hmm.
That I was like, well, wait, hold on. When did she put her glasses back on? And I have to like rewind and be like, oh, it's just like once she's like on her feet, she must have like dug into her pocket and put it on. Um, but yeah, so she's running. I love the shot of like, I guess when like the bookstore people jumped the Marine, like all these books went flying, and one of them was like a book of wanted posters that lands on the blonde brother's head. Um, that's a great shot of like the folded open book like hitting him and the pages flying. And yeah, so we get this whole like little mini adventure of her getting on the ship and dodging the Marines and running through legs and going up the stairs. The benevolent king of the ocean or whatever he was called, he's just for a big exciting one piecey moment, like a big tough guy lands on the boat and causes a big splash, and they're staring each other down. Like obviously we know that they'd be friends if they got to know each other, right? But they're staring each other down, and the girl like she like scrunches her face up like, no, not today, and she like runs under his legs. Yeah, so she gets her letter, she runs to the tip of the ship, and then she rips the paper, I guess just to get the Marines to stop reaching for her. She like falls back on like the what's the front of the ship called? The
You got me.
The stern. I'm taking a
Sure.
guess.
she's on the front of the ship, like right on the tip, like
bow.
falling back. She's got like this like dozen of Marines like all reaching for her, like stop that little girl, because they think she's got the key to a dangerous weapon. And she's like leaning back, she rips it off, and then that kind of like ends the conflict, and she's like kind of left deflated, hanging backwards, looking at seeing the Straw Hat ship while hanging upside down through her glasses.
Yeah, I think she may actually piece it together. There's a moment where she's like thinking about the code, the symbol on the code and the symbol on the ship, and she may have kind of pieced it together and is
that's like
intentionally.
I clipped that shot because I think it, like especially with like the way that scene was timed with like the clock ticking sound. There's a nice like rhythm to it. It's like well, first she sees the symbol on the Marine ship that she recognizes as the symbol on the card in the envelope that I don't think she actually saw at any point. And then that also match cuts
did she
to
not
her
have that
personal
card at one point? I don't remember.
No, the guy, the blonde Marine has his envelope on him the whole time. Like the one he's holding in his hand is the one he thinks is it.
Okay.
And they have like a little comedy moment where she's like showing them the ripped up letter and explaining to them like, nope, I was just taking something that was mine back.
Yeah.
And then the blonde guy looks in his pouch like, oh, it isn't here. Whew, we were worried for nothing. And then like all the other Marines have a big reaction. But yeah, like, and I love this shot of like she's laying on the back. She's the general is kind of like falling now. She's taking deep breaths. So like you see her like belly like expand as she's like laying flat on the ship, looking upside down back at the Sunny, and she has like this very evocative, just mixed emotions, right? Seeing the ship, she's both happy to be seeing it in person, sad that she wasn't able to get her letter to Nami, moved at just like the sight of the Straw Hats and remembering everything that they mean to her. We hear Luffy saying shit, set sail, and we get this like nice zoom in on the girl's eye to transition into the reverse shot where we see the Sunny. And she at the end she's like welling up, but she smiles. So then they talk about the letter. Blonde Marine's like, oh yeah, I got it. And so she's gets up, she like dusts herself off, like it that all that was a letter to somebody precious to me. It was a fan letter, and like she's like holding like the pieces of the letter up to her, blue sky to her back, wind blowing, close up, open her eyes. She's happy. She's content. Roll credits. We go.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Straw Hat edition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun that they do the Straw Hat version of that, since they've done a Straw Hat version of We Are years and years ago. So
yeah, and then post credits, there's like they do the open eye effect, like when she was testing out her glasses or not wearing the glasses, and that's like, but we're like on the sunny now, like we don't actually know whose point of view it is. Like, I guess metaphorically it's hers. Like she got a glimpse of him. Like this is, but even though like the actual sight we're seeing is much closer than she ever got. But she saw them. She saw Nami. She saw Luffy. The final shot is just like a little like roll call of all the Straw Hats, kind of facing away from the camera, and then Luffy's doing his big set sail, and then everyone goes yeah, and then like that cuts to elsewhere where the girl is like back on land, back on her way home, in time with Luffy saying set sail and the crew chanting alongside him. The girl puts her hand up and kind of like hums the let's go with them.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't she no longer dressed as Nami at that point?
Yeah, she's got her own clothes on now.
Yeah.
Back
Which
in
I
the
find
green.
very, very meaningful, kind of.
Like, I think
I guess like
she
similar to
realizes
the
that she
glasses.
is the she's the catalyst for her own adventures.
Yeah.
I think that's
like...
that's what the glasses mean as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it's Nami is like a piece that inspires her.
Yeah,
not,
right. Because like
she is not one-to-one Nami.
Mm-hmm. And this entire special is kind of highlighting different kinds of fans that exist in the world and stuff. But I love that the kind of ultimate conclusion is that like it's great that this stuff inspires you, but you have to also be yourself and like take it in and make it part of your own journey and stuff, which I thought was very cool, really good message, and very like effectively conveyed.
Yeah, I thought it was incredible. Anything, any general thoughts you guys want to start with as a sort of a summary of thoughts here?
I don't know. I feel like it's not only representative of us as the fans talking about our love of the Straw Hats, but it feels like a letter of appreciation to the fans from the production team. I also think it's so cool, and it's not just One Piece. It's happening in like so many mediums and stories now, but we're at an age where people who grew up reading One Piece and were fans of the series for so long are now at an age where they are working on this series that they have been in love with, and you've got this feedback loop of love being poured into the show. We get like little hints at the fandom. They're saying, we know this has been around for so long. We know how you guys think. Here's your Sanji versus Zoro fight. And I think it's so sweet.
Yeah, I think it's very like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
It just also feels like we're, I don't know. We as the credits are rolling and we saw the shots of the photographs of them like doing their little daily lives, and it was like Luffy walking by, all that. My roommate turns to look at me and he's like, "It's starting to feel like the end of One Piece, you guys." And I felt that too. I was like, damn, we've got a lot of homages to the series while it's still going on, but maybe we're getting there. But Joey, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
Oh, well, building off of what you're saying, I think this made me think about the fact that like a lot of the most emotional pieces of media around One Piece lately have been these things with like meta-textual readings, like this for sure, and then also like those live action shorts that they did a few years ago, that were all relating to One Piece, like hit me pretty hard. There's the Hungry Days thing, which was like not just fun but also very emotional. And I think it's getting to the point where, yeah, it's not just the content of the series itself, but the fact that everyone has had this series in their life for so long, that makes it really, feel, you can be nostalgic for a series because it's been around for so long that it can have literally been a part of your childhood, or it could just be, showing different, kind of reflecting on different parts of your own life and the ways that you interact with the series. And so it can really be more about you, than just like who's going to win this fight, or even the most emotional things like how does Luffy react to the hardships in his life and things like that. It's now at a stage where it's like about all of the people who have enjoyed the series over the years as much as it is about the series itself.
It's bigger than itself at this point.
Yeah, like on. Yeah.
Oh, you're good. Go.
Just like on the surface, like if I wasn't watching it for Ishitani, right? Like the idea of like, oh, this is a thing that's about fans and the art to fan relationship. Like that's something that like emotionally I'm not here for at this point in my life. Like the idea of like there's a very snake eating its own tail element of a big commercial property, like like overly romanticizing like the fandom, right? That did not stop this from being deeply profound for me. And it was this is something that exists like so far outside of what I would normally expect from something like it. Just like I don't know what my next thought is there, but
well, like you were connecting to the brother storyline so much,
yes,
for instance, and so there's stuff in there besides just the fan.
Yeah, and like
and
a big part of it is just like my just intense admiration of Megumi Ishitani as a creative. Just like still just like jaw on the floor. Like, how does a person? How has there never been a person like this before in history? But because like.
Well, yeah, that's
like a lot of things I really admire about how the thing is paced and storyboarded, and like how all the visuals connect in this very dense but meaningful and very very kind of flow centric way. It's like, okay, that's a thing I think about a lot when like I'm making AMVs and like I went to film school. I always had dreams of like making something, some big story thing, and so like I see this and I feel like I'm watching someone like Ishitani living my dream, right? And like I'm feeling inspired in the exact same ways that the characters are feeling inspired in this. It's just like otherworldly, It's just
I mean, she's incredible. Yeah, basically my first takeaway when this was over, besides just like how it kind of emotionally floored me, is it's like it's time to give Ishitani a movie. Like I want to see that. I want her to get a One Piece movie, and then I want her to start making her own non-One Piece related like just personal works. Like kind of the aesthetics of this remind me a lot of Hosoda's One Piece movie. It's a kind of like Hosoda, kind of Masaki Yuasa meeting Oda style aesthetic, and I would love to see her kind of following that trajectory of getting to. First, I selfishly want a One Piece movie from her just to have that, but then after that, I want her to like go and start making personal works that I would.
Yeah, she can do whatever she wants.
Yeah, man.
I mean, like the thing that's so incredible is that like the takeaway I have every time is like like there's a chemistry that's happening, right? Like this is a director who sees something in the story of One Piece that she is showing us. And it's something that, like, you could never like dream normally of being able to have such massive emotions and being able to like capture them with such specificity and it's fun, it's dramatic, it's in the spirit of the work. It implies things about the work that are not textual all the time. It's mature, but it's also unpretentious. It's like everything you could possibly want. It's like and then some. Like, I'm just so amazed. And it's just it's just a lot of like connecting myself to my own emotions in a way that's not always easy, and it makes it feel easy, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
Steve requested, since he can't be here, that I say one thing for him, and quote, just put over how strong the vibe and tone was. It felt like a damn pirate anime again.
Well, yeah, he should. That's all we had to say. Why were we just recording for the last hour and a half?
No, we didn't need to. That was it.
Another interesting quality of the thing is like, like One Piece has always kind of lived in this weird quasi old-timey, quasi modern, quasi fantasy world. And it's kind of like Sabodi like kind of makes for a good example of this, where it's like, oh, you're watching people live like what feels like very modern lives. Comparatively, like there are little moments where it's like you wouldn't actually know you were in a fantasy world or a pirate world, or it's like just like the blend works so well somehow.
Yeah, and what Steve was saying about it being a pirate, feeling like a pirate show again, is it's like it can like, you can lose that. You can lose the feeling that Luffy and his crew seem dangerous in the world, because we're just seeing it from their perspective, and it's always kind of like, well, what are they really pirates? They don't really steal anything, and da 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 da. But here we're seeing like how kind of scary it is to be around when they're fighting. Like when Luffy finally shows up in current time, he's like, unwieldy and larger than life, and it's like wrecking the whole town, and you really like get that sense of how they can be construed as a threat or dangerous, and so this does a really good job of kind of showing that, and also showing how people can see through that and still appreciate them and what they're doing.
Any final thoughts? Any last topics of discussion you wanted to get in before we skedaddle along?
I think I've said my piece. It's going to go down as one of the best episodes of One Piece ever, if not the.
Yeah,
She continues to hold that title.
It took me a while to find this, because I didn't realize it was. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I was just like, it took me a while to find this because I didn't realize it was just categorized as the next episode of One Piece. I kept like searching for fan letter on Netflix and Crunchyroll and stuff like that. And
on Crunchyroll, it is its own. It has its own folder. It has its own like tab, like the
under the One Piece show. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
you weren't sure if it was going to be like its own title in the list.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of its own, like
episodes.
A movie. And so, it's just, that's the thing, is it's like, it feels like a movie. It's funny that it's technically just like an episode of the anime with a next episode preview and all that stuff. But yeah, no, it's super good. I loved it. I think everybody should check it out.
All right, thank you guys very much.
Thank you for having us, Sam. That was lovely.
This was a wonderful discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Sam.
out. Steven and Zach back here. Hi, Steven. How's it going?
Hey, great. What an informative segment about fan letters. I was amazed and entertained, and I can't believe how much swearing Sam did. That was really unexpected and really unnecessary. But
yeah, Sam, I think, went overboard the whole time with whatever it is that he did, and I'll talk to him about it later. You know, if you know what that means. What did Steven? I think we're the what they would call casual fans of the One Piece anime these days.
Sure.
Filthy casual fans.
Mm-hmm.
What did Delaney? Don't isolate that footage. What did you think of One Piece fan letters?
I thought it was fantastic. It was incredibly entertaining and heartfelt and moving. I thought just super impressive all around. And the only thing we were joking about this before recording, that I felt like I actually saw or took in about a third of it, not because I wasn't watching, but just because there were so many things that were happening constantly, just nonstop. In terms of animation and directing and symbology and all of those things. And so I really feel like I need to watch it a few more times to actually pick up on everything that was going on. But it was super exciting, and all I can say now is I'm ready to see what Ishitani and her team can do on a full length feature type of thing, whether that's One Piece or something else. I want more. It's so good.
Yeah, Ishitani. I've said this a million times, and I'll say it again. Is destined is bound to be one of the great anime directors. Period. She does really incredible work. I think I said last week I gave my 2 cents of criticism, which was, I think, just what or critique, I guess is more correct, is that it is a lot. Like, you cannot absorb everything. Like, I have it playing in the background. I just noticed, I think Thatch had a little bit of was like on the back cover of that Frankie magazine. There's just so much in it, which is so not a complaint. The Yagura Bull guy, I think, is the same guy from Water 7. Can you tell where I am in the episode? It's just a really stunning tour de force. I could have definitely been an extra hour on top of that, I feel like, and still felt frenetic at times.
I feel confident that if Ishitani were to do a feature length piece, that she would slow it down a little bit, that it wouldn't be so packed, but it's just because of the format and the length of the story they're telling. She was just like, all right, we're just gonna throw everything I got into this, and if it's a little too much, well, you can watch it again.
Yeah, and I think just sitting in moments is I'm looking at it, and again, I'm watching it as we go, but like the down to, what do you call it, on the ground person, the regular One Piece girl or guy, is, I think, a really interesting concept that's very well executed. And I feel like, as I say with One Piece generally, you could live in each of those worlds for forever. They're so real and thought out, and fan letters, I think, takes that to a completely new level, and yet weaves in all the characters we know, from like Perona to the Straw Hats to whatever. It's very good, and I think really presents an interesting vessel for the fans. Like, it really just embodies them, but in the One Piece world. And I think everyone online has certainly found their favorite what Oomfie or
their Blorbo,
their Blorbo. What's the other one? There's one other, isn't there?
Lepshido?
Yeah, well, I don't know if that's what I was
that's
thinking
it.
of,
Yeah, that's a little derogatory.
To be fair, all of the characters in this are great, and they feel all like they could have jumped right out of the manga. And this is, for what is definitionally a filler episode.
Yes.
Or at least a one-shot special. You know, traditionally this would have been one of those. Actually, traditionally this would have been a 30 episode filler arc. But excellently done. Like, probably one of the most entertaining episodes of the show. Definitely as far as like original content is concerned. For the show itself, not including movies. But I hope this is a common occurrence that Ishitani gets to just have fun like this. Just give her all of the money and time, and I think I've said this before, just, you know, let her do it. I'm sure everything else I want to say has been said over the last 90 minutes. But yeah, it's great. Very good. Steven, where could the good people find you?
Well, you can follow me on Blue Sky at stephenpaul.bsky.social, where I am posting my thoughts on my 3-chapter-a-day reread of One Piece. I just finished up A Whole Cake Island, so heading into the Reverie and Wano. So really starting to get closer to the present day, but not that close. I got a long.
Well,
long
didn't you just see Rodo? Am I playing him?
Yes. His original appearance in the cover story.
And he says, "I will return."
What a guy!
That's the thing he says, and he does. So that's what an awful guy. Oshi. That's another word you could use. Everyone has their Oshi. Good. Yeah, good call. There's another one. Oomfies and Oshis. I would call the episode that if it was just our segments, but I won't. Probably. You can find me at zach.onepiecePodcast.com. You can find the podcast at onepiecePodcast.com. We will be having a lot of new articles and features on our website, so please bookmark it. Make it your homepage, onepiecePodcast.com. Whatever people do these days should be the first thing that pops up on your phone, and the last. Greg's new mega article that he's been talking about with you. I didn't even get a chance to talk about this with you. That he's been talking about since the beginning of the SGS, at least, which I guess was a year plus ago. What have you had a chance to dive in?
Yeah,
I guess you read it. You must have read the draft.
Yeah, this is something that Greg has been working on for a long time, like 2 years or something like that. He was originally planning to he wanted to turn it into a series of YouTube videos, and then he realized it was just too much work, and so he kind of tidied up the script and has put it into. Is it an HTML or did he make a PDF?
No, it's a PDF. Yeah, okay. I made it as fancy as possible. Put it on our website. It's you could get it at onepiecepodcast.com/the end of One Piece. He wanted it to have that like dark, teenager, like angsty kind of
like the death of Superman.
Yeah, like so I don't want to spoil what he was going for. I don't know if he wanted it to be more genuine, but from what I gathered, it was supposed to be like that. Like, ooh, One Piece is going to end. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Yeah.
Don't worry, the franchise will never end. I think actually the fan letters, I keep wanting to say fan service. Fan letters episode is good proof that, the series could really blossom even without Oda. In the post Oda era.
So Greg has written this very long thing, and I'm sure I'll talk with him about it next week when we do the SGS.
Sure.
And I'll get some of his background info on it, but it's a really interesting. He sent me a draft to check out a while ago, and I'm very happy that people get a chance to see it for themselves. It's one of those things where he goes into the history of Oda's comments about the series ending, and I'll give you a little spoiler alert here. Like, Greg doesn't have the canonical answer either, of course.
Nor does he want it.
Yeah, right. Nor does he want it. But I think, if you're willing to go along with Greg's writing style, which is very demonstrative and very attention grabbing, and it's a fun read, but it also goes very in depth into not just like Oda's working habits, but just like how he decides, like what his mindset was at each point that he is talking and making these statements. And he also goes really in depth into like what was actually said, what was the outlet where it was said, what does this mean? Like, are people playing a game of telephone with this comment? Is it actually accurate? Like the way that people refer to it, is that actually what Oda said, or is this just a misunderstanding and stuff like that? And so you will learn a ton of very interesting, if useless, information about how stuff like this happens, and I think that's really fun to dig into. So, and there's a lot of it to go through. So, and I believe he's gonna serialize it, right? He's got a couple parts that he's gonna.
I think he's only got 3. I thought he had more because it's like an 80-page document, right?
Yeah, it's a very big thing. Yeah,
I forget how many. There's 10 in the first one, so I guess we're gonna have some longer editions of it if I'm correct. But what was it? Interesting and useless. That's our motto. Yeah, that's what we do here on the way. And it is super interesting. I think there's a lot that if you're a longtime listener of our show, you would kind of know as a foundational, like, these are the things that Oda is looking to, because we have Greg on and we have you on and we have a lot of people with insight, not to toot our own horn, but we do have people with insight who have the ability to kind of, what were they going for in this and so on, in the marketing aspect of One Piece. And he does do a really good job, I think, of going through, as you said, Oda's mindset and also what he wants the audience to get and what kind of audience he wants, which is super interesting. And I've forgotten a lot of these things, even though I'm pretty sure some of them he has discussed in the past, which I think is just, Greg has been on the show almost as long as I have at this point. So, but at least percentage wise, basically the same. And so I'm sure we've hit some of these points, but of course, Greg is just a wealth of information that is unrivaled, sort of an unrivaled source, but not for Dragon Ball. And that's one of many reasons to read it. Keep an eye on our social media, or just go to onepiecepodcast.com. Again, / the end of One Piece, to check it out as it comes out. Yeah, so I was talking about our website, bookmark it for that reason and many others. You should and can subscribe to us at patreon.com/onepiecepodcast. We have alternate images, alternate titles, ad-free episodes, episodes with exclusive content like our in-between discussions, which I think last week's was jam-packed, because I think we were talking to Delaney a lot, so she was inclined to put a lot of that discussion in. But it makes sense. And yeah, you could find us wherever you get your podcasts, or social media at One Piece Podcast, anywhere you get your social media. Or you could call us at our phone number, which is 347-497-6254. Call anytime.
Or don't.
With your questions, comments, theories, and your Oomfies and Oshis. Thank you, Stephen, for coming on. Next week is the SGS and maybe even the SBS. So we'll see you then, everyone. My name is Zach.
My name is Steven.
Goodbye, everyone.